Welcome to the Marketing Mortgages podcast with Social for Brokers. Now, today I actually have with me a really close friend of mine, Kate McTernan. So, Kate, I have worked with in marketing and estate agency since actually 2018, when I was working at an independent estate agent and Kate was the mortgage broker upstairs. Kate McTernan actually started Redditch Mortgage Advice back in 2014, and 11 years later has now got 2 offices and a team of 12 people, including herself, and they're doing about 100 mortgages a month. So if you are a mortgage broker and you're looking to grow your business, this is the perfect episode for you. In previous episode, we've talked about how Kate started the business, but today we're going to do a bit more of a deep dive into exactly how she grew the business from just Kate and a few staff all the way up to 12 staff that she has across 2 offices. But Kate, thank you very much for coming on the podcast.
No problem. You are very welcome.
I know you're really busy at the minute. You've already in the chat beforehand, the door's already gone and gone like, oh, somebody's downstairs for you, Kate. And it's interesting. That leads perfectly into one of the questions that we'll talk about, how you've got like physical locations and what the benefits are to those, which we'll get into. But how are you finding the market at the minute?
Yeah, really, really good. Had a really, really strong start to the year. Really, really positive signs for the year ahead. And actually, rates have been pretty stable. We haven't really experienced a lot of, it's not been too volatile at the start of this year anyway. Like the rates are very, very similar at the moment to what they were at the start of the year. And we are seeing reductions, although they're small, they're quite frequent, so it's definitely heading in the right direction. So yeah, really, really good. Although last year we had a really, really strong start to the year in January and February. We're feeling it a bit now with the rush for a lot of people to get completed by the end of next week to make some savings on the stamp duty. But looking at it, we're quite fortunate that most of our customers that we're trying to exchange by the end of next week, it looks like we are going to have a near 100% success rate. So, awesome. All good, thank you. Really, really good start to the year, feeling very positive.
You can tell that it's a lot more stable, obviously speaking to loads of brokers, but I know it's more stable when mortgage brokers actually respond to our emails or our messages, because you guys are so busy. Like, for example, you were like, right, we need to get this podcast booked in. And we've been trying to get this done for like a year, haven't we? But you've just been so busy last year. And sometimes it wasn't busy in a good way, was it? It was almost like you were just going through the motions of doing loads of PTs, changing rates, base rate change. It just seemed like it was chaos last year.
Yeah, and it was pretty relentless at some points, that you've just been reactive to lenders changing rates at last minute. So it was really, really hard to plan. Like personally, I didn't do as much sort of networking and business events as I would normally do, for the fear that, I could be away or be at an event or something, and an email could land in our inbox with a few hours' notice that we that the rates that we quoted or suggested to customers have been withdrawn. So we haven't felt that for a while. I still don't feel that we're completely out of the woods there, because there's a lot else that's going on in the world that is quite volatile, that could have an impact on us. But it hasn't at the moment. So yes, it feels nice and reasonably calm at the moment. So touch wood.
Good. So we're here today in 2025. Let's take you back kind of 11 years from starting Redditch Mortgage Advice. Can you give us a bit of a background of like what's happened since you started the business in 2014 up till today? Give us a bit of like a recap of what's happened.
So long story short. So obviously I worked under a corporate for 10 years, didn't I? Left corporate in 2014, and really Redditch Mortgage Advice wasn't born at that point. It evolved into Redditch Mortgage Advice a few years later, but I left corporate and just went self-employed. I was a sole trader, one-man band, just a bit of mortgage and insurance applications for my clients. Over the next couple of years, obviously I got busier and busier, and the level of business that I'm doing just became a bit uncomfortable with me doing all of my own admin and case progression on it. So after I had my little boy, that's when I decided to take my first administrator on, which was in 2015, no, 2018. We worked out, wasn't it?
Yeah.
2018. So yeah, Yaz has been with me 7 years this April. Um, it was probably like the year before that, 2018, that we actually gave it a name. Started
Yeah.
being known as Redditch Mortgage Advice because that's where I was conducting most of my business, and I've spent a lot of time advising. So yeah, then Yaz joined the team. Then very, very quickly, Yaz got really busy. And she was sort of at capacity with the admin work that she was doing. So another administrator joined the team.
Yeah.
Then I think we sort of took on a broker to start helping us with some of the advising. So it just sort of organically evolved from there, from us just being reactive to business levels really, and being able to facilitate the amount of leads that I was getting. I just couldn't physically do it on my own anymore. So every time that someone sort of got to full capacity, we then look at recruiting. And then there we were, 2021 with 17 at our busiest
God.
and our highest point staff wise. Yeah. So
And you were still, and I think it's interesting for people to know that you were still advising at that point where you had a team of 17 staff and you were doing full time. I remember you like saying, I went away on holiday and I still had the laptop up and I still had my phone on the go. And it just seemed like you were never away from the business, did it?
No, and it's still, to a degree, it still doesn't now. So I am still advising, and I do still pick up on bits when I'm away, but it's not as bad as it was before. So I'm not doing personally the same level of business I was before, but I'm still doing a really, really good, healthy level of business. But yeah, ultimately managing 17 people, and let's say 10 of them are authorised salespeople, which comes with a lot of responsibility, a lot of regulation and compliance to fulfil for them. And me advising full time, it was uncomfortable. It was too much. Hence, we've actually downsized a little bit now, and I think we're at 12 people, including myself now. And I'm like very easily able to do what I'm doing, manage the workload that I've got for my own pipeline, and manage the people that are around me. But also the people I have got have been here for a long time. They're experienced. They're very, very efficient to a degree. They can manage themselves. So it just feels a lot more comfortable where I am at the moment to where I was then.
And you've got quite a good setup, and I know people listening will like to hear this, that you have a setup of brokers, admin staff, and also protection advisors as well. Why do you prefer to have admin staff instead of having your mortgage brokers do the admin themselves?
There's a couple of reasons why. The main and the most obvious reason is that my brokers can obviously help more clients. We can take on more new clients because they're not bogged down with admin work. But also the client receives a better service. So if a customer was waiting for a broker that's got a full diary for 4 days to get back to them for an update on the progression of their case, there genuinely are times when our diaries probably wouldn't allow us to call them back within a reasonable time frame, which obviously causes frustration, understandably, from their end. So I'd probably say the biggest reason is that we want the customer to feel like they're getting our attention and that we're available to them in a reasonable time frame if they want something. And by handing that case over to a case manager, who is then effectively their person for the whole process, it takes all their frustrations away because they know that they could contact and easily access the case manager. But it also means that the broker isn't bogged down then with emails, calls, messages, because the case manager will just be able to say to them, it might be something that the broker does need to work on, but they'll at least have the relationship to say to that customer, I do need Louise to deal with this particular point, but I will go and sit in front of her. I'll get the answer that you need now, as opposed to you waiting for an email or a call back when I can see her diary and she probably isn't going to be able to get back to you for a day or so. So that's the two biggest reasons. Yeah.
Okay, because it's hard, isn't it, being a mortgage broker on your own? You're thinking, well, if I hire an admin assistant, I've got to make sure I can pay X amount every month consistently for the next 12 months. But what you're saying is it increases the quality of the client, and it gives the mortgage broker back time to do more appointments then, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely increases the quality of the service that the customer is going to get through us. But there's no way that my brokers would be able to help the amount of people that we're able to help without that admin support in place. I mean, just to be clear, they do all the admin up to a certain point. So they submit the case themselves to the lender. 9 times out of 10, they package it themselves. And including me, I submit all my own cases and package them. Because we do want the quality to be there, that end. Like, we don't want second-hand information or someone guessing what to submit or package to a lender. So as a broker, we'll submit the case ourselves, we'll make sure that it's been submitted to the highest standard, it's been packaged correctly, and then we hand it over to a case manager who will basically keep the customer updated from a lender's perspective and legal perspective, give them all the support that they need. I mean, there's absolutely no way that a broker would be able to do that when typically a broker will have, let's say, 15 new appointments in their diary every single week. They wouldn't be able to, manage or keep on top of that admin and caseload, admin work anyway.
So you're talking about your brokers not having much time, and it's obviously the admin sound perfect to help them. How do you do it personally? Because other listeners that listen to this, they might have a team of 5, 6, 7 staff, and they're like, how do I keep advising and manage a staff of 12 people and be compliant and attend events and do this? And for anybody listening, what would your tip, apart from like Pinot Grigio at 11 o'clock on a Tuesday morning, what's your way of dealing with that? How do you keep on track? How do you keep the team motivated? How do you keep on doing appointments, Kate?
I don't know where to start. That's why I'm sat there going, what does my week
This
look
was
like?
one question that I didn't kind of tee Kate up for, and I thought it'd be a good one, because as a business owner, you've not only got the mortgage appointments to do, the staff to manage, you've got payroll to do, you've got admin to do, you've got people to pay. How do you manage your diary in a certain way, or do you have a certain mindset that you have behind running the business?
Yeah, so there is a bit of diary management behind it, but I do think it is quite a hard industry to manage your diary in, because as any experienced and busy mortgage advisor will know, is that one problem can set you back hours. Do you know what I mean? So like, we had a case yesterday, just to give you an example, like we're trying to get it completed for the end of next week to benefit for the customer from a stamp duty perspective. It's needed renegotiations. We're on our 4th mortgage application because of down valuations, and we finally got an offer, which we didn't really think was going to happen. So then yesterday afternoon was spent, speaking to the solicitors, getting contracts, leases, documents amended, getting them documents over to us, getting the customer in to sign them, getting them sent back special delivery. So I didn't plan for that, but it had to be done. So although there is a degree of diary management, i.e., when it's coming to the end of the month, I know that I'll put half a day aside to deal with commissions and payroll, or if we know that something's coming, like, annual reviews or one-to-ones, obviously we put time into the diary for that. I don't see as many clients as I used to. So, I mean, I probably will be clear on that, because I'm not that much of a superwoman. So I am still doing a lot of new business. I'm probably doing about 25 to 30 mortgage applications month in, month out. But a lot of my customers are returning customers. I deal with a lot of portfolio landlords. So a lot of them, it is sort of a short telephone call, because I know their portfolio that well, just to recap on what they're looking to do, what they want out of it. So, but I suppose what people don't realise is, because, we do get some customers that still say they want to see me, and when we say, I'm not taking on new clients, I'm not seeing new clients, is that I could sit on a Monday morning and be up to date, which has never happened in 17 years. But let's imagine, in a lovely, beautiful, dream world that I am, I could start the week with nothing, and then, by Monday afternoon, by yesterday afternoon, I've had 5 or 6 inquiries from existing clients, which is why I have to be really, really strict and not take on as much new business, and just trust the brokers that I've got to do as good a job as I would do. And I believe that they will.
Right. I think what I'm going to ask you next, this whatever your answer could be, I think we could write it out in a script and sell it for millions because it's something that when we're speaking to brokers, this is one of the biggest things people have an issue with. Is they're in the situation with you where you've built this business to a point. Everybody loves Kate. Everybody loves the way that you deal with them, the way you give advice. But as you've now hired 4 brokers, John Smith comes to you and says, Kate, you did mine and my partner's mortgage 4 years ago. I only want to deal with you. What is the thing that you say? How do you approach that conversation to say, unfortunately, I'm too busy. I'm going to put you in the safe hands of somebody else. What is that script? Because it's going to be worth millions.
I don't actually think it's that difficult, really. So if I do get millions for it, then it's a nice easy one. So, I mean, I do still do a couple of days where I do a couple of Saturdays a month where I advise. So let's say that's 14 appointments that I open up a month, but generally we try and save them for existing customers. So if a customer calls up and says, I only want to see Kate, we say, right, okay, well, there's the appointments that Kate's got over the next month or 2 months. So if it works for you to do one of them appointments, then great, we'll book you in. If it doesn't, then you've got no choice but to see another advisor. The reason that Kate doesn't do see new clients during the week is because she's got a lot of responsibility running the business, doing the compliance, looking after her staff, and there's a lot more that I do. I mean, I should write a list really so that I could tell you exactly what I do, but there's a lot that are, a lot of tasks that I have to fulfill. So Monday to Friday, if you want an appointment, what she has got is a really, really experienced team of mortgage brokers. 2 of them have been doing it longer than me. She's still very much involved in the cases, and she's still very much involved, in the day-to-day advice that her customers are getting. So why don't you book in with one of them? And 9 times out of 10, once you've explained it that way, the customer goes, yeah, no, absolutely no problem. Let's get booked in on this day. Or they just work to me and the days that I'm actually advising on.
That's really clever.
It is, but it's taken me a long time to be strict enough to do that, because a few years ago I would have just gone, I'll just stick it in my diary. But obviously I know now that I can't just do that, because one person becomes 10 people and then you're overwhelmed with appointments. You can't keep on top of it. But also it's explaining to customers, for you to get the very, very best service out of, and the attention that you need from a broker. If Kate has got too much on, an example, she's not going to be able to come back to you as quickly as you need anyway. And, I really do manage people's expectations when they see me. I might not get back to you for, let's say, 3 or 4 days, whereas another broker will probably be able to get back to you within 24 hours. So it's just managing people's expectations, isn't it? And they do still want to.
I love the way that I've never heard anybody do it like that, where it's kind of like, yeah, you can see Kate, no problem at all, but it's this Saturday or this Saturday in 2 weeks' time. And that's not you being arsey about it at all. That's you just saying, Kate's still doing appointments, but she has to be selective with the time. So you can book in with Kate, or if you want it done earlier. And it's almost, instead of leaving the calendar open to say, oh, yeah, Kate's doing appointments, when can you do? You're saying, no, this is when Kate's doing appointments, or see the rest of the team, which are more than capable.
More than capable,
so that's, yeah, that's...
But you know what, as well,
they wouldn't be
Chris, a lot of the customers that call up where someone said, you need to use Kate, they don't understand that it's just educating them, because they don't realise when they call up that it isn't just Kate. And actually, when they're educated, Kate is still very much here, but she runs the business and she doesn't see as many clients as she used to. She's actually got a team of people that do that for her now. Normally the customer says, I didn't realise that. Of course, that's absolutely fine. And we've got different, as brokers, they've all got different strengths. So I might say, find out a bit more about that client, what they're looking to do. If it's a first-time buyer, I know that this particular broker is really, really good with first-time buyers. If it's limited company or complex self-employed, I've got Louise in Birmingham who is really, really good and really experienced with that sort of stuff. To find out a bit more about the client, then I'll make sure that they get booked in with the most appropriate broker anyway. So yeah, it's not as much of a problem as it used to be, and I manage it better than I used to be, because I just say no, and I'm more, it's really powerful just saying, these are my boundaries. This is what I will now do.
Yeah, and it's for people listening. Like this is where it can get to. You could get to the point where Kate's talking about this, saying, like, this is the process, and I'm not overwhelmed by it anymore. It's hard in the beginning, which is what Kate has said. It's hard for her to say no, and it's taken, by the sounds of it, a few years to get to that point, but it is doable, and that means you have to have good brokers to help you. So we've talked about the team, we've talked about the business. Now we're going to talk about something that not many people talk about anymore, and this is physical locations in terms of an office. Yeah. So when everybody's talking about remote working and being online, when they're all going online, why have you gone with 2 physical locations of offices, Kate? What was the thinking behind that?
So there's different answers to both of the locations, actually. So,
okay.
Obviously, Redditch is the original office, and we originally bought the office over here in Redditch. We had quite a big team at the time. We've still got a team here who, as we bought it whilst we were in COVID, actually. It was August 2020. And just generally, the reason for me having the office was that the team that I've always worked with, I think most of them, if you ask them, their preference is to be office-based.
Okay, so interesting.
A lot of women, kids at home, and actually out of the 12 of us that work here now, only one of them works remotely because she's not local to here. But I think if you asked her in an ideal world, if she was more local, she would come into the office every single day. So that was probably actually the main motivation, is that I wanted a home for the team to work together and be able to sort of thrive off one another. But I also didn't want to work from home. I've worked from home before. I had an office at home. So it's my business, and if I don't want to be at home every day, I am a lot more productive when I'm in the office. I very, very rarely work from home now unless I absolutely have to, i.e. I've got a delivery or there's something that I've got to be at home for. My little boy's sick. It's very, very rare that I work from home. So that was actually the main motivation behind it, was more focused around the team, and us all wanting to create something where we were all working together in the same premises. But also there was, we see a really, really healthy level of face-to-face appointments. We have people in the office day in, day out. Saturdays, if we're open at Redditch, we could have 3 or 4 brokers in. That's between 21 and 28 appointments in a day. And I can guarantee that more than 50% of them are face-to-face appointments.
God, that's great. And during the week, what kind of levels do you do during the week, face-to-face?
At this moment in time, so our brokers are limited to 3 new appointments every single day for them to be able to then fulfil all the sort of admin work on the cases. So, generally they're fully booked most days. In fact, some days they're creeping up to sort of 4 appointments again. So 3 appointments a day, and let's say that again 50% of them are face-to-face. They're local people coming into our office. The other 50% will probably be Teams calls, so we try and encourage Teams over telephone calls.
So Redditch is absolutely jam-packed with face-to-face appointments. That's full, that's going well. And then how does it come about of opening another office? It's like, I'm stressing off, let me get another one.
Yeah. It wasn't a plan, it wasn't strategic. There was no strong business plan in place. I literally drove past Kings Norton one day. So I started my first ever job as a mortgage advisor was in Kings Norton on the Green, and the customer base that I started there had sort of followed me around. So even though I was in Redditch, probably half of my client base was still from South Birmingham. So I had really strong connections with it, and I loved it. I loved working there. It was one of the best jobs I ever had. I loved the Green. I loved the people. I loved everything about it. And I drove past one day and I saw that the dream office, which was the old Lloyds Bank when I was at Dixon's on the Green in Kings Norton, was up for let. And I was like, I just had this flash. I was like, oh my God, imagine being sat on that island and seeing our branding. So obviously I started harassing people about it. Letting agent who said it was gone. Sorry, it's let. I thought, no, this can't be possible. The let sign isn't even up yet, so it's got to be early days. And then through a bit of digging with contacts, I found out who the landlord was and contacted him directly. He said, no, sorry, it's gone. Devastated. And remember, it was over Christmas. I don't know if you remember, because I was messaging you when we were away about it, and we secured the
you were like, this
domain.
office
Because I
has
was
come
like,
up.
no, yeah, this office has come up, secure the domain for Birmingham Mortgage Advice. I'm going to make it happen, even though he's telling me it's late at the minute, but we'll worry about that later, Chris. And then even in the new year, we came back, it was 2022, new year, he was like, no, it's still gone. And I was like, I just had this belief that office, after I'd saw that, whatever it took, I was going to get that office. And then I just remember seeing my phone ring one day, and it was the landlord. And I just knew it. I answered the phone and I was like, you're
Meant
going
to
to give me
happen.
good news, aren't you? Yeah, and it did. Unfortunately, the tenant that had applied hadn't materialised, and he was running out of patience and time. So, and there it was, Birmingham Mortgage Advice,
Perfect.
with no plans for it, but I was happy.
And that's people that are listening. Sometimes it doesn't need a plan. Sometimes something just happens and you're like, right, this could fit in perfectly. It was never part of the plan. But now you always say that second office is actually, yes, it's great for marketing because it's on a really busy island in Birmingham. But you get so much more footfall through that business, don't you? You get so many people see the brand and actually walk into the office and just go, can I have an appointment?
Yes, it's very, very different to Redditch, because in Redditch we've probably had one or two walk-ins for the whole of 2025 so far in like 3 months, whereas in Birmingham, I would go as far to say that every single time, so I work half of the week out of Birmingham and half out of Redditch, but every single day that I'm there, at least one person will walk in and book an appointment, someone that's walking past to go to the train station, the bus, whatever it might be, or someone that's just sat in the traffic. And whilst they're sat in the traffic there, they give us a call. So um, it pays for itself in that respect. Whereas if you were to rely on walk-ins at Redditch, you know that you couldn't, that it wouldn't pay for us to be in Redditch just for walk-ins. But we had a big
Yeah.
client base here anyway, and we've got a really good market share in Redditch. But yeah, the walk-ins and the drive-by that we get at Birmingham is incredible. But also, may I add to
So,
that I know that you said, you just spotted it, but I think sometimes actually a really good businessman or businesswoman, it's about just spotting opportunities, then taking a risk, isn't it? So it's the
jumping on
opportunity,
it.
spotting that opportunity in itself, isn't it? It's having the balls to drive past there that day and go, I've seen something and I can visualise it, and I'm determined to make it work. And I think
Yeah.
that makes a successful business person in itself.
No, I love that. My question would be, like, say if that office was in such a good location, and there's obviously nostalgic values from you working a few doors up. If that office was, say, within a business centre and there
Yeah.
wasn't much footfall, would you have taken it on just to say you had Birmingham Mortgage Advice, or was it about the location? And there's a reason for my question.
No, I don't think we would have. I think
No.
purely that Birmingham Mortgage Advice was the start purely because of that office. And
That.
I'm trying to think back now, but I mean, we hadn't really had any discussions up until the point of me seeing that office about evolving into different areas. I mean, we've obviously, we own sort of domains for different areas, but more from a protection point of view in case I ever wanted to expand or, franchise the name out or anything like that. But up until that point, Birmingham only became a thing because I saw that office
It
and
was
spotted
that.
an
And that's
opportunity.
why I say, yeah, spotted an opportunity. And that's why people that are listening, if you're thinking about getting an office for a business and lead generation and being in the local area, I would question if it wasn't in a high footfall traffic area. I wouldn't just get a serviced office to say that you're in that postcode area. I would
Yeah.
look at, if you're looking at an office, spend a bit more and get that high street presence, because the branding of it, the location, the people walking past it will pay for itself within the year of what you pay for rent. That's what I personally believe anyway.
Well, the thing is that
So,
that office has made me even question the location of Redditch, hasn't it? Several times I've had this conversation.
yeah,
I'm like, I want somewhere where we can get the same sort of walking, and exposure as Birmingham. But unfortunately, just we haven't been able to find the
hard to
right
come by,
place
aren't
over
they?
here. Yeah, they are very hard to come by.
So we talked about the business, talked about the office. If somebody sat there thinking, right, they are now got a mortgage advisor and maybe a protection advisor and an admin or a couple of admins, and they want to now take that leap from 3 to 5 staff or more,
Yeah.
what advice would you give them, Kate, after you've lived through it?
So my advice would be to go from 3 to 4 first. So do it
Okay.
slowly, personally. Looking back now, I've made some of the recruiting that I've done quite quickly. I've rushed it, which at the time felt right because of how busy we were, and that I was having to be reactive very, very quickly. But looking back now, I would have done it slower. I would have hired slower.
Okay,
So
right, that's interesting.
do one first, and try and gauge how what their actual job is. How productive can that person be? Because it might be that they actually fill the gap of what you need anyway. What you don't want to do is take two people on, and not really be clear on their purpose or fill their days with productivity, because you don't want people sat there in your business that haven't got work to do, that aren't clear on what their job role, what their purpose is. So my advice would be to do one first, go from 3 to 4 if that's the case, go from 2 to 3, do one at a time. And once that customer, once your new member of staff is productive, you can clearly see what job role they're fulfilling and they are up to full capacity, then look at maybe taking another on.
So get that one person in position, trained up, ready, and then take the next. Because I think we're all in a race we want to grow bigger. More staff equals more business. Sometimes it doesn't, and 2 staff might pull you away from actually doing business.
And even if more staff does equal more business, does it actually mean more profit? Does it make you more money? Because you're running a business. So, and I suppose that's, again, a lesson learned for me over the last however many years, that having 17 people doesn't necessarily mean that you're a better business than the business that's got 10, 11 or 12 people or 5 people. Ultimately, you're running a business and you want to make money, and having 5 people over 4 people or 3 people, is it going to make you more money? Because if not, you need to question what the purpose of bringing that person into the business is. But also, if you do too many, you've got to give them time. So you finding time for one person is going to be a lot easier than finding time for 2 people when training them, giving them your time. You can't expect someone to start in your business, especially if it's like a small to medium-sized business. They are expecting you to be present, give them some of your time, train them, and it's easier to do that with one person than it is 2 at the same time.
Yeah, and that's it. It's time ultimately, isn't it? As business owners, if you hire somebody to do your admin, you're getting more time back for you to do more appointments. That's all you're spending the money on, which then can evolve into more profit. Fantastic. Before we get into the last question, which I know a lot of people will want to hear the answer to, we donate £10 to a charity of your choice as a thank you for coming on. Which charity did you want us to make the donation to?
So I would like you to make the donation to the Primrose Hospice in Bromsgrove, please, Chris.
Perfect. We will make that one for you. Right, the last question of the podcast is one we put out to all of our LinkedIn followers and said, what do you want to hear from people on the podcast? And the question was, what's the number one tool you could never live without in your business, Kate?
Can I give you a couple of different answers?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, go for it.
Okay, so I suppose from a leads generation perspective, because obviously we need business and we need new clients, at this moment in time, it would be Google for me.
Awesome.
And
is that where you get a lot of, you Google My Business as well?
Yeah. So it's really evolved over the last few years where leads are coming from. We used to pretty much get everything from social media. Obviously, we get a lot of customer recommendations, and which we still get, but we get far less off social media and far more off Google now. So if it was from, like I say, generating leads and new business, it would be Google. Just in terms of the day-to-day running of the business, we could not live without our WhatsApp, our business WhatsApp, and our emails.
So powerful. And you have WhatsApp on all the desktop computers for everybody, do you? All the laptops?
Yeah, so we've got a business WhatsApp. I think 4 or 5 of the admin team have got it. We use it for so much. So obviously it's linked to our website, so customers can contact us via our website or via our socials. I think WhatsApp, to book a new appointment and to ask us questions. Whilst we're doing the case progression, if we want documents, we want to give updates, we use WhatsApp for it. We use WhatsApp, for broadcast lists when we want to give our Google reviews a bit of a boost, or we just use it for everything. It is the easiest way to contact someone these days, and a lot of customers, you're trying to ring them during the day, they can't answer, but they can WhatsApp. And it's pretty secured, so a lot of the stuff is encrypted in WhatsApp, so people can send us documents really easy just off other apps in their phone, like banking apps and stuff. So definitely WhatsApp. An unfortunate email. I do hate email. I will be honest. It consumes most of my day, and very often someone will hear me in the office having a bit of a moan, going, I could be a bloody full-time emailer. Like, I could literally, my job could now be just emailing all day, but we couldn't live without it. It makes our job so much easier. I think back to when I first started, and emailing bank statements and emailing documents wasn't actually really a thing then. We'd be waiting sort of a week, 2 weeks for customers to get bank statements in the post, or faxing them off to lenders, or I remember our regional manager used to drive packages of cases, to a service centre. It just makes it is a ball ache. It's keeping on top of them, but it does make our job a lot easier. So Outlook, WhatsApp, and Google for me.
Awesome. Love it. Well, Kate, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. I'm not going to leave it 4 years until the next episode, if that's all right. We'll get you on before. It'd be interesting to see what happens in 4 years. But
well, yeah, that's what I was going to say. It'd be interesting to see where we are with the next one, although I don't think we'll be far different to where we are now, because we just seem in a really, really good, happy place, a manageable level of business, a manageable level of staff. We've got 2 offices which are working really well. So I don't think much will be different on the next one that we do, but who knows?
Who knows? You never know what twists and turns will come over the next 4 years.
Never know what I'm going to drive past.
Or by demand. Normally I'll get messages from Kate. I remember the Birmingham, quick story to finish. Birmingham mortgage advice. I remember getting a message from Kate. It was Boxing Day night, because you were away at the time, so like the time difference, and it was like, Chris, I've just bought these domain names, birminghammortgageadvice.com and .co.uk. Can you just attach them to my account for me? And I was like, she's on holidays, she's still thinking about the next thing.
No, do you know what that was? If you remember, we could get one of them but not the other, so we had spoke about it before my holiday, but I want to say that...
Oh, yes.
It wasn't
.com
available.
became available. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's why I was like, right, jump on it quickly. I've just looked on there and it's available again. But I've just thought, actually, obviously, we are doing something at the moment, which I can't say too much about at the minute, because obviously we're going through the process of being authorised with some different sort of business that we're going to be starting. So maybe actually in 6 months, 12 months' time, when that starts, we have a call.
We can do an update.
I sat there and like I wasn't doing anything this year, and I am doing something, because this one's a bit of a slow burner. Then I haven't really spoke about it much, have I? But 6 to 9 months, I think. So maybe the end of the year we have a catch up and see how that one's gone.
Sounds good. Perfect way to end it.
Yeah.
New chapter for 2026. Thank you very much for coming on, Kate. Really appreciate your time.
No problem. Thank you.
Thanks.